Hi, this is Marnie Pearson and Sue Painter back with the online business reality show, Marnie and Sue's Peep Show, where we pull back the curtains and let you look inside our businesses. And today we're going to be talking about a little bit of how to handle conflict in your business and also how to gain perspective by stepping back. And Sue, you want to start the ball rolling on the stepping back?
Stepping back? Yeah. Well, Marnie and I were having a conversation the other day where she said, or maybe this morning, where she said, well, I had to step back from a few things and it helped me kind of gain perspective. And I was like, well, tell me what you mean by that. What is the story behind that? And you were saying, Marnie, that you were puzzled about something in your business and then you just basically by stepping back, you stepped away from it and took some time off, right?
Yeah, it was a couple things. I was trying to figure out a puzzle in my business, and I just thought, take a break. So Saturday and Sunday, I didn't work in my business at all, which is unusual. I usually at least work on Saturday, but I didn't work at all on it at all. And then, anyway, by this morning, I had solved a big chunk of the puzzle. So it's like it's
Yeah.
worth a step back.
You know, there's a great book. I wish I could remember the exact name of it. Oh, I think the name of the book is Peripheral Vision. It's a little tiny small book, and it was published years ago. But it was by this woman who talked about the fact that when we're trying to figure out things that we're puzzled by, and we just go at it and go at it and go at it, and it eludes us, that sometimes we need to step back and we need to do something else. And while we're doing that, our mind's eye is kind of still working on that problem. Like if you go for a swim or you go for a walk, or you go to play with your dog, your mind, you're still working on it. And she said you end up seeing the solution with your peripheral vision, kind of out of the side of your eye. It reminds me of our beagle Phoebe, who we lost about a year and a half ago now, and who I still miss daily. She was the huntress. I mean, par excellence. She was the huntress. She would lie in the woods, like with her her little paws and her nose, and she would never. She would see a bunny over here in the side of her eyes, and she would never turn her head and look directly at that animal. Or if she was playing with Jake, she would never look at him directly. But she knew everything that was going on out of the side of her eyes, and all of a sudden she would shoot and go grab him and play with him and grab him by his neck. They used to play a lot together when they were younger. She had that peripheral vision thing, and she was a mighty huntress, and she never missed her mark, but she never looked directly at her prey.
That's pretty cool.
Cool. I love learning things from animals. We can learn a lot from animals. So you stepped away and ended up solving your puzzle.
Yeah.
So
So
that's cool. That's cool.
that I've had to do a lot. I mean, over the years, especially when I used to do a lot of programming, I'd really be like beating my head against the wall trying to figure something out, and then I'd just say, "Okay, bag it, go do some dishes." I come back and there's some little comma or something that I've forgotten, but you just don't see it until you step away from it.
Well, do you feel like now, do you have to recognize that you're going at it too hard and you have to force yourself to step away, or does it come naturally?
It's more natural now. I used to I had to force myself to do it,
Yeah.
because I was like a dog. I'm like a heat-seeking missile when it comes to goals. It's just like, if I know what I want and know how to get there. But
You're like Phoebe, you're a huntress. You're gonna. I mean, her attention never wavered, but the prey never knew her eyes were upon it. Her ears would be turned all the way sideways, listening to that, listening to Jake or to that little bunny or whatever. So, well, I think that's cool. That I think it is a mark of all of us who are in business that we either learn to force ourselves to step away, or over time it comes naturally that we just say we need to get away from it. So my kudos to you for recognizing and being having enough business maturity now, I guess, to recognize it and just do it naturally. Takes a while to develop that, I think.
yeah, it only took me about 20 years to figure that out.
I understand. I think it's taken me about as long too. We were just talking before we went live about experimenting a little bit and how we all have to experiment in our businesses, and this whole thing about how business isn't perfect. And if you try to make your decisions based on perfection and on nothing but analytics, that you're not as successful as you otherwise would be. Marnie needs to tell you about next week. She's going to offer her class again of creating a product in a week. Is that the name of it, or what is the exact title, Marnie?
Yeah, how to create a program in a week or less.
How to create a program in a week or less. And she did that about a month ago, and she's going to do it again next week. And she decided this time that she was going to experiment and raise the price a little bit, and also add in a couple of things she didn't do before that she felt like people needed. And so we were just talking before we went live that she doesn't know whether this class is going to fill or not. She already has successfully held it at one price point, but now she's at a different price point and including some other things that she didn't include before. And that's just an experiment, really, Marnie, right? And you do have to do that.
Yeah, you don't know till you try. So I just thought they needed more hand-holding after the class.
Yeah.
And but then that affects the price. So
yeah. So we'll see. I guess we'll keep you posted about how that goes for her. But now, if people are thinking that they need to get a product up and they've got the next week that they could really dedicate to working with you to get through it and get that product finished, where would they go to look at what you're offering in that class?
You just go to marniepearson.com/unplugged/income now.
marniepearson.com/income/income. Now what? Income?
I'll put it up. I'll put it up on the screen.
I'll put it up on the thing. Okay, because that means people might be, this is a great time of year to launch. If you can launch a product and you can get it done with Marnie in a week and have it up, then that might be your Christmas income this year. I mean, you still got time to do that this year, to launch another product and have another income stream, right, Marnie?
Yeah, you do. You could get it up and promote it, and really, Christmas is a fun time to. I used to just bag holidays for business-to-business stuff, but last year I did my crazy Christmas challenge and made all these crazy videos. I danced in a little black dress and and did a video of me making cookies as Julia Child, and every day I tried to do a crazy Christmas thing and to promote a holiday special on several of my products where you could get them at a better deal.
Yeah.
And it worked really well. It's about the best cash flow I've had on the holidays. So I'm going to do it again this year. So if anybody has any suggestions of what they would like to see me do that's crazy, I'm all ears. I might be persuaded to dance again. I don't know. So.
That's cool. Well, you know what? I missed the videos last year. I may have to go back and try to find them if they're still alive and up somewhere.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. I'll send them to you.
Another thing we wanted to talk about, or I wanted to talk about anyway today, is mastermind groups, the good, the bad, and the ugly of mastermind groups. And I'm interested to get Marnie's view about this as well. I had a client back a couple of weeks ago who had been in a mastermind group she'd been into for a long, long time, like 7 years. These people had been getting together. And what I realized is that this mastermind group had become a group of women who supported each other but did not challenge each other to grow. So the mastermind group really they were all keeping each other small and stuck, and she couldn't understand why her business hadn't grown and why it had been stuck for 3 or 4 years, and she really both wanted and needed to have more income. And she kept saying to me, well, I'm in this mastermind group and we meet every single week, and we all just really care about each other, and we know intimately about each other's businesses and personal lives. And the more I heard her talk about it, the more I realized that she had gotten into a mastermind group that it probably served its purpose the first couple of years she was in it, but by now they were all so comfortable with each other that nobody was really willing to challenge anybody else about really stepping outside their box. And since they all had fear of stepping out, what they did was they all roped in to keeping each other comfortable. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be in a mastermind group that lasts a long, long time. It depends on the members of the group. But sometimes mastermind groups are not, you're going to outgrow your mastermind group. You're going to need people at a higher level. Or you're going to just need to leave it because maybe you haven't outgrown it, but maybe it isn't challenging you enough. It's turned from a mastermind group into a support group. And those two things are mutually exclusive. So, Marnie, I don't know what your thoughts are about that, but I ended up having to say to her, you know, I think actually this mastermind group, instead of helping you mastermind, is helping you stay safe.
Yeah. Well, after a while, they do they go that route, in my experience. I mean, you can do them for a few years, and then you just know each other too well, you know. But if you can find, I've had mastermind buddies that continue to challenge me, though.
Yeah.
They'll continue to push me, but you have to have certain types of people who are willing to push.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, you know. And you have to be willing to take it, because I've heard of some mastermind groups where, you know, they push somebody and then they get upset, you know, or something. So,
well, and don't you think that falls into the category of being coachable? If you don't, you know, if you get mad when you get pushed or challenged or confronted about your business, and you're in a mastermind group or you're in a coaching or mentoring relationship because you say that you want to grow your business and expand your personal self, because you're not going to grow your business unless you're growing yourself. I mean, you and I have talked about that before. Then really you're not coachable. You refuse coaching. You refuse the support and the push of mastermind members, and you refuse the support and the push of whoever you have hired to be your mentor or your coach. And I've had clients like that before. You know, they'll yes, but you to this. That's a good idea. Yes, but I can't. Yes, but this. Yes, but that. And the truth of the matter is, they don't really want to do what it takes to get out of that uncomfortable shell and step out beyond what their business is already doing. And I'll bet you've had that experience too.
Yeah. I mean, people, they tend to be that way the whole time, though. I mean, you know, they'll make the excuses the whole time. Usually, it's probably not something that just comes out of the blue. If it comes out of the blue with a group in a mastermind that somebody's upset that they're being pushed, it could be something that's going on in their life right then that they just can't deal with or thing. You know, so there are those kind of dynamics that happen. But masterminds are. Yeah, they can be tricky.
And that's why typically if I do a mastermind group, I used to do them for a year. And I now, if I pull a group together, I usually will do them for 6 months, sometimes even 3 months if it's just for a short thing that people kind of want to get past. I mean, I like teaching visionary leadership and how to use your intuition in your business. And you and I were just talking about that before we went live, Marnie. And that is something that really is just a 3-month group, because you really have to go out and practice that and get experience and then maybe come back to the group later on. So I think a mastermind group can be a short time, and it doesn't have to be a year or 2 years or 3 years, or it might be if the group, I mean, I have people who have mentored me for years and years and years, but it's one-on-one, and believe you me, they challenge me. I mean, they challenge me every single day, and they know me well enough to know when I'm kind of hiding out and saying, oh, I'm busy with such and such. They're like, well, so what? You know, you got to do this or not. So I personally need those people in my life, and I think we all do. I wouldn't say that I would be a mentor or a guide to others unless I myself was getting that also. So, but that whole thing about mastermind group, I guess my warning is just make sure that you're not in one that's too comfortable. And no matter what you say, if they say everything you say, they say, yeah, that's a good idea, they're not challenging you enough. That's the bottom line to it.
Yeah.
Everything you do won't be a good idea.
Right. Yeah. And they really, they work best when you've got a really good level of trust.
Yeah.
Because then the people can say whatever they need to say, you know, and you're going to take it.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, is their point valid?
Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me, I've got to talk about
it. Some of the best colleagues that I have now came out of a mastermind group. Janice Pettit put one together years ago with Kathleen Gage and Denise Wakeman and
Uh-huh.
um, Ellen Britt. I think Laura West. I don't know whether Laura West was in that one or not, but anyway, um, we ended up doing an event in Raleigh around with that, and that worked out really well. It was fun.
Yeah, that's
So I like a good mastermind like that. We got some really good people who are really doing something. Because sometimes people will get together mastermind groups, but it's just a bunch of people who don't know how to do anything.
yeah.
You got to pick people that are kind of on par with where you are, or at least, or maybe a little better than you. You know what I mean? If you can slip in and get in one where the people are a little bit more advanced in certain areas, but of course you may be advanced where they're not.
Yeah.
But if you can get in a good one that has people that are really doing something, you can
Yeah.
really make some things happen.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Well, that's what we have to say about mastermind groups, I guess. And then I have a couple of tiny little things that came up this week, so I'm just going to stick them out there for people who are interested to hear. And one of them is fake names. I actually got into this discussion on a Facebook forum, a private Facebook forum, about people who sign up to be who opt in, and they use a name that is like Oz or Jay or something vulgar, and they're not going to be serious really about. I mean, they might want the free thing that you're offering in return for their opt-in, but they are so fearful of getting into a relationship with you that they don't even want you to know their name. And those people, I mean, I don't want to pay to maintain a list of people who won't even tell me their first name in return for a piece of really good content that I'm giving them. My business is serious to me, and I expect people who want to work with me to be serious about it too. So I tend to remove people from that list. And the lady I was talking to was appalled by that, and she said, "Oh, I make up all kinds of names and sign up on lists with all kinds of names because I think it's funny." Well, I don't think it's funny. I think, you're taking a piece of someone else's work, and they have a legitimate right to expect to at least have your name in return for that content. And if you're not willing to give that, then why are you freeloading? So it's kind of gotten to be a bug with me. So anyway, we got into this discussion. I don't know what you think about it, but if somebody is going to sign up to be butthead on my list or worse, I don't want that on my list, and I don't want to send out a newsletter that says "Dear Butthead." So I just don't want that. They're not serious. They're never going to work with me, or even probably buy one of my $9.95 products. What do you think about that?
I periodically clean that out. Sometimes it's not even real people. It's like a bot. It's like a computerized bot that just goes and fills out forms.
Yeah.
And I used to get, when I had my site that got millions of page views a month, if I put a form on there, I might end up with thousands of people these names being signed up that weren't even real people. It was just a bot, So then you got to figure out how to check for a human and all that. It's annoying. It's really annoying. I agree with you. I think that would at least give their real name, their real email.
Yeah. I mean, if it's kind of like, if you go to knock on your neighbor's door and you say, I'm baking a cake and I need a cup of sugar and I realized I'm out of sugar, they're going to extend that to you and give you that cup of sugar, more than likely. But they know who you are. They know who your face is. You wouldn't think about going next door anonymously with a hood and a mask on and sticking your hand in the door and saying, "I need a cup of sugar, give it to me." And then I think sometimes just because we do business online, people take it that it's okay to be rude. And I don't think it's ever okay to be rude in business or in life, really. So to be funny or to be flippant or to be smart-butted, smart-assed, I don't know, that just doesn't sit well with me, because I put a lot of time and effort into what I produce and what I give as a gift to a person in return for their name. If they don't even respect me that much or have that much willingness to engage with me, then it's just really a huge waste of my time. And I work really hard in my business, so I don't like that. So if you're signing up for my list, leave your name. And if you don't want to do that, don't sign up to be on my list, please. I guess it's I never realized that it was such a big deal, I guess, for me, but also you're right. I mean, you can get bots and people. I mean, you know, we all have this complaint, and there should be manners in all kinds of business, but I've had people sign up, opt in to get a free gift, and then opt out so quickly that my autoresponder has not yet had time to deliver the free gift. When they opt out, they say they click that it's spam, even though they opted in, and then they write and say they never got their free product, which then takes half an hour of somebody on my team's time to figure out. I mean, you know, they're cavalier about it because it's anonymous. And it's kind of like people who bully in their car because it's anonymous. So it's just bad behavior. So anyway. Okay, well, what else are we talking about today before we end?
You want to talk about conflict?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got into this conversation with a client the other day about she's very good at what she does, and she's very analytical. She's kind of in an analytical industry. And, you know, she's working harder and harder and harder and trying to figure out faster and faster and faster how she can be better and make more money. And the harder she works, the more burnout she gets, and the income isn't coming. So, you know, we had already looked at her pricing structure, and we had determined that her pricing was really pretty much at the top. She didn't have room to raise her prices. And so we were looking at then, of course, delegating. What does she have on her plate that she could be delegating out? And we found that she was delegating some things and paying people way too much money because they were like $10 an hour tasks, and she was paying somebody $50 an hour to do them. You know, you have to really watch that level. But then we were talking about some bills that she hadn't sent out, and she said, I haven't sent them out because they're really large consulting fees, and I'm afraid there's going to be conflict with these people paying them because they're not going to realize how high they're going to be. And I realized in that moment that her block to moving forward was not living enough from her intuition and her gut. And so we were practicing, like, you know, breathing and closing your eyes, and really, what was your gut reaction? Don't go up in your head and analyze everything, but what's your gut reaction down in your body? And I used to teach a class called Visionary Leadership that talked about that, and I think it's an important thing I know you can't succeed in business without it. But also, what I realized in that moment is that when you go off and handle conflict, you have to shut off your analytical mind. Conflict doesn't solve itself by analytics because conflict is by definition emotional. So you have to be willing to be open and emotional and trusting your gut in order to solve conflict. And if you say, I hate conflict, I avoid it at all costs, it's because you're trying to think your way through it. You can't think your way through conflict. You have to feel your way through conflict. You have to use your gut. And that's all it is. And once you learn to use your gut, you can solve any conflict. So I just wanted to put that out there for folks. If you're conflict avoidant, it's probably because you lay awake at night and try to analyze your way out of a situation, but you're not taking into account not only your own emotions, but the emotions of the person you're in conflict with. And you can't do that. It won't work.
Interesting. Yeah, I just did a class today on the fear of conflict, which, well, that's a whole bag of... We were talking about the energy behind it. For me, I'm like the poster child for peace at any price and don't do conflict. At least I have been in the past. That's the biggest lesson I've had to learn in the last few years, is that it's really more merciful to be willing to do conflict, to be able to be honest and say how you feel, or what, you know, and be willing to go there.
Yeah, how do you feel? It's a feeling thing. Yeah.
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 Yeah, because I just buried my feelings, and I just would let anybody trample over them because I was scared of conflict. So anyway, that's interesting perspective that you're saying. I mean, it's totally new to me, to feel your way through conflict. I never really even thought about it that way.
But we do feel our way through conflict in the end. I mean, we all do. That is the only way that we can really come to it. because there's when there's conflict, there's feelings. And I was saying to Marnie, that's really how really good attorneys, I mean really good attorneys understand that, and that's why they can get people off who've done murder, because they play to the feelings of the jury, and then they play to the feelings of the public, and they sway public opinion and they sway jury opinion based on the emotions of that juror and not the law. And so that's how people literally get away with murder or get away on other charges in court, because they have very bright attorneys who know that. I mean, I think about that for myself, and I mean, nobody really likes conflict, and I always thought myself that reason was the way out of conflict. I mean, I was a great debater in high school. You know, I was an awesome debater. Everybody said, oh, you should go to law school. Well, you can debate and you can try to be logical about it, but you never ever solve a conflictual feeling with logic. You solve a conflictual feeling with meeting and opening to that other feeling. So the more you're willing to go into conflict, the better, the faster you'll actually get through it. And the more you hold yourself back from it and try to analyze it, even if it's conflict within yourself. I remember, you know, almost 2 years ago now, is when I stood up from a chair and my brand new knee blew apart in a bunch of pieces, and there I was lying on the floor and on the beach, as it were, and couldn't walk. And when I had this big surgery, and they were saying to me, you're probably not going to walk again, and you know, if you do, you'll only ever be on a walker. And I was asking the surgeon and the doctors and the nurses and the therapists 1,000 questions a day, because I was trying to think my way through this problem. And it was only when I just dissolved in the hospital bed and absolutely cried so hard they had to change the sheets 4 times that I finally got to the emotionality of it and got all that out, so that I could then work my way through with my guts, with my head and my heart, to start saying, I'm going to do what it takes to move this forward, and I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to find somebody who will teach me to walk again, and I did. So it's like you've got to get those feelings out before you can actually even engage your brain in a smart way. Otherwise, your brain is trying to be analytical, but it's confusing with what's in your gut. So, and I think that happens to us with personal stuff in our lives. You know, maybe it happened with your divorce, Marnie. I mean, I don't know, but I imagine it did. You know, but it also happens in business. All the time, it happens in business.
Yeah.
So.
Good stuff. Never thought about it that way.
I know. I mean, do you see it? Do you agree, or do you think, oh no, she's...
No, I agree. It's the overanalyzing that's the problem. I get it. You're right. I never really thought about it that way, but...
I mean, Jill and I got into that just the other day. Actually, all of a sudden it got cold in Tennessee, as you know. You and I both live in the same state for part of the year. And it was cold and dark and dreary, and the time was going to change. It was going to start getting dark at 5 o'clock, and he and I were sitting around logically trying to figure out, well, when should we migrate down to Florida? And, well, there's parties, and there's this and there's that. And finally, last night we just looked at each other, and it was like, it doesn't really, you can't analyze when you're going to get in the car and go. You just have to decide, are you ready? It's cold and dark and dreary. Yeah, hell, let's just get in the car and go. And so, you know, we're going next week. So, anyway, so you just, you know, you fall into that trying to analyze your way out of stuff, and you can't. You just have to go with your gut.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll get paralyzed if you try to make
paralysis by analysis, right?
Yeah.
So next week, we're going to meet next Monday at 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central. Next Monday is going to be our next Peep show, so put that on your calendar. And I don't know what I'll have to talk about, but I am going to spend 2 days with Paul Evans working on, I'm going to his workshop, $1 Million Keynote, down in Montgomery for all of Friday and all of Saturday. So I might have something to say about that experience, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what we talk about next week.
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
Yeah.
Smart cookie.
Yeah, Paul is definitely a smart cookie. So. All right, are we done? It's the 30-minute mark. We might start boring people. I guess we better hush.
Yeah, gotta go pick the kids up.
All right, take care. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.